Deleted session, June 14, 1978. Now, the new policy of writing down Rupert's feelings is beginning to pay off, and is leading him to an understanding of the feelings, to a recognition of his impulses, and towards some understanding as to why some impulses have been largely buried in the past, and why others, while recognized, were denied a hearing. The material on impulses was indeed from me this morning, and in a way, that material coming through as it did was the result of Rupert's dawning understanding that his own abilities can indeed help him solve his difficulties when he allows it. The morning material is important, then, and should be appended to the session. There is something I want to tell both of you, and I hope you can see what I am trying to say. Rupert does not need to apologize to anyone for his less than perfect physical condition, nor feel that his physical lack of mobility. Relatively speaking, casts aspersions on the sessions or on our work, nor need he feel that in contrast to our material, his physical performance is willfully inadequate. The wording of that sentence is important, for obviously his condition is inadequate, but he owes no one an apology in that regard. Neither of you should feel embarrassed, or rather ashamed, of his physical condition, either, nor consider it more reprehensible because of our work than you would consider it otherwise. This entire material is important and vital. Original thinkers, creative innovators, often have their difficulties with their fellow men, even if their careers are backed up by academic credentials, organizations, or whatever. Again, Rupert has none of those frameworks. He was also to some extent blighted by those same errors that our material is trying to correct, as each person is to some extent in your world. His feelings, as stated to you this evening, show a new emotional as well as intellectual insight into the situation. Give us a moment. Briefly, Rupert has always felt the strength of his abilities, even before he recognized consciously the areas into which they would lead him. From many sources, literature, psychology, religion, biography, he felt that creative or artistic people, those highly gifted, were persecuted by others, hunted down, misunderstood, and poorly equipped to deal with the social world. On the other hand, he felt that they were beset by errant impulses, extravagant, destructive behavior, the taking of drugs, overindulgence in alcohol, or even by suicidal tendencies. Such gifts he felt were quite odd, presents indeed from the gods. Those who possessed such gifts knew it at once, but they must walk a cautious path while still allowing the abilities expression and ensuring their development. The ideas about the creative personality are erroneous. They seem to be factual only in periods when the goals of a society do not fully include the arts or philosophies in the larger organizational structure of the community. Be that as it may, Rupert began to withdraw from the world, and in important ways denied himself the experience of dealing with others in those respects. He is gifted in dealing with people. He has the capabilities that allow him to hold his own very well, plagued only by fears and hesitations. He does have a very strong private nature, along with an ability to communicate to others. And as my material stated this morning, A greater understanding of his impulses would lead to a natural balance. He might not want to see anyone for months, in which case his impulses would be to refuse any interviews or whatever. Then the impulses might change overnight, leading to a more sociable time. One important issue is to forget the word and instead deal with specific instances. The world is made of individuals. Robert's position has been conciliatory and encouraged protection above expression. As long as you rely upon Robert's physical condition to say no for you, then Robert is still using it to avoid facing such issues or making decisions in that regard. Give us a moment. The material I gave this morning is especially important and should be studied. The medication is alright for Robert. He is using it as an aid. The soreness that he experiences at times is a physical result of mental ideas. Generally, that it will hurt to face the world, for example, and this new knowledge of impulses and of his feelings should help there. Give us a moment. I have never wanted to dwell negatively on what might have happened in terms of probabilities and have mentioned it very briefly only. But Robert's psychic initiation and your own represented a breakthrough of the most important kind in this life, and automatically shunted aside, for good, many other serious difficulties that otherwise could have occurred. That was important privately, but in your own searches, you are literally leading millions of people, many who will never write you, and effectively inserting ideas into the society that will in their time come to flower also. That challenge was difficult, but offered, and still does offer the opportunity for a kind of personal exploration of reality to which few have access. In certain terms, such new understanding can also bring its own stresses and strengths, simply because such individuals must of necessity find themselves ahead of their times, and in a different position than they were in before, with their normal accepted reality. They also, of course, must to some degree still bear traces of their society's official errors. So do not have Robert knock himself too badly, and do not feel hang-dog in your attitudes about his condition. When you think of it in relationship to our work, that change in attitude alone can be very beneficial. All of this information should help accelerate his improvements. It is significant that he has of late felt like standing unsupported, even if only briefly, for this means that he is beginning to sense a point of balance. He should encourage those impulses whenever possible, of standing unaided, even if the time is brief. Your own communication with each other is becoming clearer and can still be improved upon. The other material he received was from the library. Give us a moment. Robert should not disapprove of himself because of his physical condition either. He can quite rightly disapprove of the condition, however. He should again, perhaps with your help, now write a new list of his accomplishments and also of his positive characteristics, so that he keeps self-approval in mind, and your compliments when he does look well are always helpful. That will be all for the evening, unless you have questions. Russet Will is certainly no accident that the interview thing with the village voice came along at this time. They said, of course not. Russet or the radio program hints with Will. They said, you should use both events to learn from them. What you do is not as important as your attitude toward your decisions. Fears are understandable. They are natural, but it is not natural to be ruled by fears. and of session and a fond good evening. Ralph said, "Thank you."